What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and today I want to address a concept that I actually hear people constantly complaining about. What to do when your teammates are completely stupid. Okay, no, I'm not talking about if they're just feeding or making a few mistakes. I'm talking about when they play absolutely terribly, refuse to listen and communicate, and otherwise ignore all of your efforts to carry them, pretty much just short of going AFK. Now, I've already addressed how to deal with ragers in a previous video though, so I won't be going over that. But I will be focusing on how to win a game if you have one or more teammates that feed and then hinder your efforts to try to carry them by doing things such as ignoring calls and refusing to communicate. Before I get into any of this, I must mention that I strongly encourage duo queuing in ranked play. It really just reduces the amount of trolls by a ridiculous amount, and it makes it a lot easier to carry. If anything, you just know that the person that you duo queued with is going to listen to you. But of course, this video is not about duo queuing, it's about carrying your horrible teammates that you have no clue how they ended up in their division. The first thing to note is that to have a good chance of winning, it is absolutely crucial that you win your lane. If you can't win your lane, try to win someone else's lane. It becomes pretty much impossible to carry when the score is like 2-20, but if the score is like 8-15 and you're 4-0 or better, you can create a lot of opportunities for both yourself and your team. This also creates a dynamic where it's much harder to solo carry when you are playing bot lane, because your lane unfortunately relies on another player, but you just have to play the best you can. After you've won your lane, assuming that all attempts to make calls and communicate have failed, and if they haven't, you should focus on that instead, as it's much more likely to help you win. But when you're totally out of luck, and even though this doesn't happen nearly as often as people say it does, especially if you duo queue, it still does happen. Solo carrying is of course different for each role. If you can split push, I definitely recommend doing that, as it's an amazing way to generate pressure. Split pushing is probably the best way to carry by yourself. You do need to be extremely aware of your team though, so that they don't fight 4v5, or if they do, you can at least get multiple towers or an inhibitor. Just make sure that you're able to escape every single gank when your opponents come for you, meaning that you have to buy wards. If you're a duo queue, you can roam together and try to make plays with the two, or hopefully more than two of you if your team decides to follow you. If you win your lanes, you can likely 2v3 some people as well, as long as you're aware of everyone's strengths. If you can't split push, and this is kind of mainly for supports, but also applies to other roles as well, one thing you can do is buy a ton of wards and constantly ward every area on the map. Yeah, you will be weak from the lack of items, but the vision will be a huge advantage for your team. Throughout this, it's important that you at the very least try to communicate with your team, and do not rage at them. Pings can often be a good way to communicate with people who don't listen, and maybe sometime through the game they will start to listen to your calls. However, if they still refuse to communicate, and you are somehow in a situation where you cannot split push, ward heavily, make calls for your team, or are a duo queue, you have one remaining option for you to try to do, and that is to catch out a member of the enemy team. This isn't always possible, but you could start an amazing fight if you land that clutch Darius hook or Tark stun or whatever onto your opponent's 9-0-80 carry to insta-give them. Or you can create a 4v5 situation if you can catch someone out from roaming or with the lucky ward, or from something else as well. You need to try to eliminate mistakes your team is making while waiting for your opponents to make one themselves. It likely becomes a good idea to stick with your teammates at this point, as there won't be much you can do alone, and remember to continue to try to communicate with them. And only by retaining a positive attitude, while also never giving up, will you have a good chance of winning. Also, don't go on tilt if they are raging at you. You don't want to turn into the thing you so despise. So, that's it for my advice on what to do when your teammates are totally stupid. I'd love it if you could support me with a like or some feedback in the comments, and if you have any questions, I would absolutely love to see you in the comments too. Also, I've made a Twitter and a Facebook page, so I'll have links in the description if you want to follow me on those. Please subscribe for more awesome content if you enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.